making headlines this morning after a speech before the United States General Assembly. Our team breaks down the biggest moments from New York City. Late night host Jimmy Kimmel returns to television after ABC pulled his show off air, but not every station will carry his show tonight. We'll have those details later this hour. And the medical community is pushing back after the president warned pregnant women to not take Tylenol over concerns of autism. I'm Mugo Odigwe, and this is CBS News 24/7. Right now in New York City, President Donald Trump is meeting face-to-face with leaders on the world stage. Earlier, he delivered a message to the UN General Assembly about a number of topics. He touched on the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza and even used the moment to talk about domestic issues here at home.
On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion. And for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means.
And now let's go live to New York City, outside the United Nations, with CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. Aaron, can you walk us through the president's decision to address domestic issues on the world stage and how it fit into the overall theme of his message?
Yeah, Mugo, if you listen, it definitely sounds like more so of one of the campaign speeches when he was talking about domestic issues. But what President Trump did there is he used that as a basis to argue that Europe should do more. He said that Europe is, quote, going to hell because of illegal immigration, said that they are, quote, being invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's seen before, and kind of touted what he has done during his administration and the dramatic reduction in illegal border crossings as a sign of success when it comes to immigration. He said that the European countries need to, quote, maintain their sovereign borders and, quote, prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before. You also heard him talk a little bit about the U.S. economy, touting, and he said this line many times before, that the U.S. is, quote, the hottest country in the world, and said that a lot of you in this room benefit from that. Then he highlighted the multiple trade deals he has gotten with some of the countries in the room and noted how those trade deals include investments in the billions by many of those countries in the U.S. So certainly, yes, talking about domestic issues, but then tying it to the larger global scale.
Yeah, and this was the first time we've seen the president in the setting since, 2019. So what else stood out to you about his speech?
One line, quote, "What is the purpose of the United Nations?" He certainly didn't hold back in going after the UN, which he has said in the past has great potential, but is not living up to it. He touted the peace deals that his administration has made, claiming, quote, 7 peace deals in 7 days, and kind of said that the UN didn't do much to help with that, and that the UN usually just sends strongly worded letters but does not follow up with actual action like he claims his administration is doing. I also thought it was notable when he was talking about Gaza and referencing the multiple Western countries, including the UK and France, who have unilaterally recognized a Palestinian state. As he has said before, he believes that that is a reward for Hamas, and it, quote, said, quote, "Instead of giving into Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now." I thought it was notable that he got a good amount of applause after that line. And lastly, his speech began a little bit rocky when there were some technical problems with the teleprompter. He referenced that in a Truth Social post shortly after his speech, where he said, quote, "It was a great honor to speak before the United Nations. I believe the speech was very well received," and then noted some of the escalator problems and the teleprompter teleprompter problems and said, quote, both of those events probably made the speech more interesting than it would have been otherwise. But, we'll see President Trump in these bilateral meetings this afternoon, including one with the Ukrainian President Zelensky. So this is not the last that we're going to hear from President Trump today.
Yeah. All right. Aaron Navarro, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time today. And now let's bring in CBS News Middle East reporter Courtney Keeley. Courtney, thank you for joining us again today. What is your take on the president's message today when it comes to the wars in the Middle East?
Well, the big question is, where were the details? And we were expecting maybe for President Trump to really address what was going on with these five large nations, also recognizing a Palestinian state, this 80th year for the UNGA, and he really did talk about, and where he got his applause was saying, release the hostages, release the hostages now. But he didn't offer up a way for a ceasefire or any kind of new deal. He just called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
Yeah, and I want to dig into this push to recognize a Palestinian state. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he called it irrelevant. So will this formally make a difference, I guess, when it comes to the war going on in Gaza right now? You have these Western nations that are saying, hey, we recognize a Palestinian state, but how does that translate to the actual war?
Well, that's an excellent question. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, and it really doesn't directly translate. These were countries like the UK and France, led by Macron, saying that they were going to recognize a Palestinian state as a way to recognize a Palestinian state moving forward, but also almost in protest to what's happening now, what Prime Minister Netanyahu is doing with his military incursion straight into Gaza City. So it's not staving off famine, it's not staving off these accusations of genocide, but it is showing a global recognition of a Palestinian state, which the U.S. is not behind, and which is why Secretary of State Marco Rubio said it's irrelevant. But it's not irrelevant on the world stage. It's relevant according to this White House administration.
Okay, I mean, that is a good way to put it. In the world stage, it is relevant, but here in the United States and with the White House, maybe not so much. Courtney Keeley, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.